how you view yourself, both individually and then as an athlete, and how to manipulate the way that you are living, thinking, acting, all of those pieces to almost trick yourself into being better at every single thing that you do. Okay, there's a lot of power in the mind that most people don't understand. Some of the things I'm going to say today, you're going to think I'm crazy. That is totally fine. I know I'm crazy. I have zero problem with being crazy. I also know that crazy is the reason that I'm really good at everything that I do. And it all comes down to an individual belief system, recognition of who you are, knowing that's the person that you are, and knowing that regardless of what anybody else says, even if you value their opinion, that doesn't make them right just because they have an opinion. Right? And sometimes, especially at your guys' age, we get really caught up in the thoughts of other people and what they say, and that becomes our own belief system. Okay, so we're going to start with something that, I don't know, have you guys done any visualization stuff? Really. Let's go. All right, so I'm going to make you really uncomfortable for 4 minutes here, and I'm so excited for this. We're going to do something that I do with my high school team literally every single day before practice. It's called ball meditation. Anybody out there like visualize, meditate? You guys do that stuff on your own? All right, that's cool. All right, so you're going to have 4 minutes here, and quite literally, I don't care if you stay where you are. I don't care if you lay on the floor. I don't care what you do. You need to be in a comfortable spot, and you need to promise that you won't fall asleep for 4 minutes with your eyes closed. All right, really simple. From there, I'm going to walk you through it. We're going to spend 1 minute focusing in on our breathing. Okay, the way that we breathe matters. There are different breath patterns that you can incorporate to either change your blood flow, okay, calm yourself down. If you didn't know this, part of the reason that Steph Curry is as good as he is because in a 30-second timeout, he can purposely drop his heart rate 30 beats per minute. Okay, so if he's playing hard and getting after it and he's at 110 beats per minute, in a 30-second timeout, he's able to drop himself down to 80. Wild, right? And as athletes, we perform best between 70 and 90 with our heart rate. So what happens is you get in the box, it's a big situation, your heart rate spikes, and then your body doesn't actually respond how it should. And some of that is because you physically can't do it. You've gotten in your own way, and based on your heart rate, you're not able to actually accomplish the things that you want. Okay, so some of these things are just tools that I want to equip you with, because I'm going to be here one day. Your season is all season. And whether you guys use these things or not, I at least want to add the tools to the toolbox that you guys can then utilize if you see fit and if you think it's something that will benefit you. Okay, that's our job as coaches, and sometimes that gets lost. Our job is not to tell you exactly how to do things and why you need to do it that way. And like, there's certain things that are musts, absolutely. Right? The culture that you are building here, walking out to the field together, how you go about your business matters, and that's going to be culture expectations set by coaches. Right? But when it comes to you individually and how you approach your day-to-day life, the relationships that you have, the way that those things carry over onto the field, how your school day affects your game, all of those pieces, that's a you thing. So this stuff works for a lot of people. It doesn't work for every single person. So if you love this, keep doing it. If you hate it, you're not going to offend me or hurt my feelings by never doing this again. All right? So first minute, we're going to focus on breathing, and I'll walk you through what we call box breathing. Box breathing is essentially a breathing technique used by U.S. military. So when they're going into battle, they stay calm and alert and focus on what it is that they're about to do. Okay? The second minute of that, which is the A, is awareness. Okay, and awareness is our ability to connect brain to body. A lot of times when you're in a game, if you're going well and somebody asks, like, what are you thinking? You can't even recognize what you're thinking because you're in the zone, meaning that like you're just free flowing through your mind and like there's no actual thought. You're just allowing your body to work, right? But a lot of times when we're not going well, you can tell us your thought process and it's really in depth, and most of the time it's negative. But that happens because we're overly thinking here and not allowing body to do the work. Okay, so there's a time and a place for that. Like, you're going to have practices where you're focused on mechanics, funnel versus press on ground balls, how we field through different lanes, what we're trying to do as a pitcher, different grips, like there's a million things in this sport. Most people don't realize that, right? Like, I bet you guys could go play pickup basketball and be decent. But you get basketball players who have never played baseball, have them step in the box, we'll see how they look, right? Like, baseball is one of the hardest sports in the world that there is to play. Okay, so the way you think is going to affect your outcomes on the field, but the problem is we focus a lot on outcomes rather than our thinking. Okay, so second minute is awareness. I'm going to make you roll your wrists. I'm going to make you roll your neck. I'm going to make you wiggle your toes. Everything to just be present where your mind is and get your feet here. Okay, you're going to hear me say be where your feet are probably a couple different times, and that's all about awareness of connecting mind to body and recognizing that if your mind is somewhere else, you're thinking about other things, you're thinking about what you're doing after practice, and you're in the middle of practice, you're not going to perform as well because you're splitting your thought, right? And you only have 100% of your thoughts to give. So if 20% are on something else, you're operating only at 80% capacity, right? So it's all to get you present. Okay, the third minute, first L, is looking back. So that's a fun minute where you get to close, while your eyes are closed, you get to play back your personal highlight reel of things that you've accomplished on the baseball field in the past. That could be big hits, big defensive plays, diving catches, whatever that might be. You get to play that stuff back in your head. And when you do that, I don't want you to do it as if like you're watching SportsCenter and you're seeing yourself do it. I want you to feel it. I want you to engage every single sense that you have. What did it sound like in the dirt when your cleats moved after your prep step to go get that ball? All right, what was that smell in the stands? Was it the popcorn? Maybe you had gum that you were chewing. Like, what was that taste that you had? Engage every single sense that you can, because your brain can't actually tell the difference between you physically completing a task and you mentally completing a task. Okay, so if you do visualization training, you're actually going to get better physically at what you're doing just by connecting brain to body, because the same neural pathways are lit up or highlighted when you do mental training or visualization versus the physical. Okay? In fact, 1 minute of mental training is equivalent to about 5 minutes of physical training. So if you just visualize for 5 minutes a day, that's 25 additional minutes of practice that you're adding to your arsenal that most people aren't doing. Right? Let's just take percentages of what we said. There are 0% of people here from the player side that have visualized before. So when you're thinking about everybody's going to go to practice every single day during the season, in the state of Indiana, everybody will practice 5 days a week until games start. Right? So if everyone's doing that, you going to practice does not make you a hard worker. Right? You going to practice means that you're doing what's mandatory. Okay? There's a difference. So you doing visualization would be something that separates you from everybody else. Okay? And that's really what you're looking for, right? Like, if we're going to win games, if we're going to get better, then we have to do more or work smarter than what other people are working. Okay? And then the last minute of this is looking forward. So we're going to take the positives that we've experienced from the past, and now you get to create memories that haven't happened yet from this year, and you get to manifest your future of how you're going to look on the field this year. Does that make sense? All right? So I'm going to walk you through it. You guys can close your eyes. I don't care if you lay your head on the table. I need you to be comfortable. All right? No peeking. You're going to feel awkward, but understand everybody else's eyes are closed too, so it's okay. Awkward's a good thing sometimes. All right, get comfortable, close your eyes. We're going to start with our box breathing, so I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold your breath. 2, 3, 4. Exhale through the mouth. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. In through the nose. 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, breathe out, and hold. In, hold, out, and hold. In, hold, out, and hold. Continue to breathe with that pattern, and as you do that, all I want you to do is take your hands and just start wiggling your fingers a little bit. You don't have to do anything crazy, but allow yourself to truly feel your body while you continue to breathe in that box breathing pattern. You start rolling your neck a little bit. See how your body's feeling. If there are thoughts that are randomly entering your mind, you don't need to fight those. Just let them come in your mind and leave on the other side. Wiggle your toes. Start to roll your shoulders a little bit. As you gain awareness of where you are and what you're doing, connecting your mind to your body, I want you to start playing back that personal highlight reel. Things that you've experienced success in. Maybe it's a big at-bat. Maybe it's a big defensive play. Maybe it's just the energy of somebody else on your team making a big play. Think about what it sounded like when those moments happened. Think about what it felt like, internally and externally. What it smelled like on the field. Do you have seeds in your mouth? Maybe gum? What was that taste? Engage every sense as you play back that personal highlight reel. As you finish that personal highlight reel, I want you to take the next minute to really look ahead. Utilize what you've done in the past and the successes that you've had, and start to put those into this season on the field. What are you going to experience? What's opening day going to be like? What success will you find? Still engage every single sense as you do this. I'm going to be quiet for the next 40 seconds while you do, and I'll pull you out of this. As you finish this up, we'll end with one more good set of box breathing. So breathe in through the nose, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. And out, 2, 3, 4. All right, you guys can open your eyes. So 1, take a second to just feel the energy. What feels different right now compared to before we did that? Who can tell me? What do you feel? Anybody? What do you feel? There's no wrong answer. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong and you're terrible. What do you feel? More calm. You feel more calm? Okay. Yeah? Tired. All right. It's fine. Anybody else? Okay, those are the typical responses, right? Like you can feel just the mood in here is way more calm. Okay, before I walked in and there was some nerves like, who is this guy? Why do we have to do this? I didn't sign up for this. This is supposed to be baseball practice. Okay, you feel that energy. And that's fine. Like that's what I get everywhere that I go to speak. And that's what most speakers get anywhere that they go, is that nervous energy up front. Like this guy's going to suck. Why do I have to listen to him? Right? But now it's all calm and relaxed. Okay, so think about if you're on deck and you know the situation and you know it's going to be a big situation, and you just focus your breath while you're on deck and you're going through your load or your launch, you're getting your timing, you're going to step in and you're going to feel this. Okay, there was a study at Harvard University done, and it was essentially a competition to see who could draw a picture for artists, who could draw a picture that represented calmness the most. Okay, any idea what won? What would you think would win something like that? When you think of calm, what do you think of? Yeah. Okay, straight line, yeah. Makes me think of death, unfortunately, but you know, there's that too. Yeah. Yeah, maybe blank. A lot of people say like a beach, you know, like calming waves, all those things. The picture that won was a tree directly over a waterfall, and on one little branch of the tree was a nest. And inside that nest was one egg, and there was a bird sitting on it, and it was in the middle of a thunderstorm. Right, so you got this lightning coming down, and you got that. And that won because calmness is not based on the circumstance. Calmness is not based on you being in a specific place. It's based on how you control yourself regardless of circumstance, right? So in that moment, that bird knew the only job that it had as a mama bird was to sit on that egg until it hatched and protect its baby, right? And regardless of everything that was going on around it, on one little limb of a branch, in the middle of a rainstorm, overlooking a waterfall, so many things that could go wrong, it was still doing the only job that it had. And that's why it won, right? So a lot of times we think of calmness and we think of a situation or a circumstance. But really when we think of calmness, it's your ability to put yourself in that mindset regardless of everything else going around you. You boot 2 balls in a row, you should still represent calmness. Okay, you cannot become a product of your circumstance. Okay, so a lot of what we just did can be utilized as something that you can do pregame, something that you can do literally on a test day. If you have a big test in a math class, like literally sit there and visualize going through that test. What's it going to be? Okay, and the cool thing that happens is you learn how to manifest. And we'll get into manifestation in a couple of minutes here, but essentially it is the idea that you can create outcomes that have not happened yet. And if you ever feel like have you ever experienced deja vu? You know? Okay? Deja vu is cool, but you're always confused. Like, why am I feeling like I experienced that again? Manifestation is essentially experiencing deja vu, but doing it on purpose. Experiencing an outcome when you know that that's something that you've set your mind to and you believe is going to happen. Okay? The greatest expression of manifestation that you could probably see, if you go to YouTube when you get home and you type in Joe Burrow and you find how he celebrated the national championship when he won it in college. And you'll see all the streamers falling down, and you see him with just a little smirk on his face, just looking up and taking it all in. And in the interview after, he talked about how it was exactly how he had envisioned it for years. Okay, Joe Burrow never said that his goal was to win a Super Bowl championship until he was in the NFL. It was always, I'm going to be an NCAA champion. And that's what he envisioned his whole life until he was finally there, finally did it, and experienced exactly what he had seen for his whole life. Okay, so you can do it. It's very possible. I've done it multiple times, okay, but that only happens if you have a belief system. Okay, so before we get into how to manifest and what that looks like, let's get into your belief system. So you have a piece of paper in front of you. Now I'm going to make you work. All I want you to do is draw a big circle on your piece of paper. I won't judge your circle. They're hard to draw. It's going to be an oval for a lot of you. That's fine. Okay, once you have your circle, I'm going to give you a couple minutes here, but what I want you to do is I want you to think about what people make up in your mind your value, your image. Okay, so that could be you value the opinion of coaches and friends and family, girlfriend, whatever that might be. Okay, but those people or those things, maybe it's social media, maybe it's, whatever it is, okay, not judging. And rather than just writing them in there, what I want you to do is make a pie chart out of that circle and put in what percentage of your self-image you give to each of those people. Does that make sense? All right, it should equal 100%. That's the only thing. You can't have like part of your circle that's not full. All right, you got like 2 minutes. Let's see it. All right, so as some of you guys are finishing, we're going to start taking some answers here. You can volunteer or you can be voluntold. Either one's fine. We'll start with our middle school table. We'll pick on them since they're here today. Who can tell me, somebody over there, what's the biggest number that you have on your circle? 40? Okay, who has 40%? Friends and family. All right. All right. What about this table? What's the biggest number somebody has?
25.
Okay, 25? All right. So give me your whole split.
25 and 25?
Well, that would be 50, so there's got to be another 50 there. Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah.
I put sports. Is that like...
It's your thing. It's not mine. You're fine.
I put God, friends, sports, dad, and mom.
Okay. And God was the biggest in that?
Yeah.
All right. I like that. Somebody from over here. What's the biggest percentage that we have? All even? You value them all equally? Okay, what are they?
Family, friends, school, and the grind.
All right. So here's the biggest issue with everybody who just said something. Okay, how many of you wrote yourself? What percentage does it have?
50.
Ah. So we got one person. Yeah. We got one player and one coach that did it here. Okay, but think about this. I told you that this was a representation of your self-image. So if you yourself aren't down there for a minimum of 50%, and the only asterisk there would be if you have a faith background and you put God in there, God can be up there percentage-wise too, because you're bouncing who you are off of what you believe is good, and you're bouncing what you believe is good based on your belief system. That's totally fine. But if you yourself don't make up at least half of that, then you are saying that your personal value, the majority of it, is decided by people outside of yourself. So it's really not your self-image at all, is it? It's totally based on everybody else. Okay, so how do you expect to set goals, reach goals, know what you want for your future, know what you want on the baseball field, apply those things, become the best that you can be, if you don't even have the value in yourself to make the decisions of what determines your success? If it's all based on friends, family, and the grind. And one more. What was the fourth one? What was your four?
Family, friends, school, and the grind.
And the school, yeah, and the grind. Okay? So what you're saying is if you go 0 for 4 and your friends say you suck at baseball and your parents say, why did I buy a $400 bat for you to leave it on your shoulder? Then what you're telling me is you believe that you suck at baseball because at least 50% of your self-value is based on what those people said. What's the problem with that? Does anybody see an issue there? No issue? I can tell you this. If you don't see an issue there, your success this season will have zero to do with what you do and will have everything to do with the outside noise around the program. Because whether you are winning, and you probably experienced this in the last couple of years, whether you are winning or you are losing, there will be people at the school, teachers included, and your friends, that tell you that you're not very good. You will have people in your life that try to bring you down. Because here's what happens. If you are pursuing something that you want to pursue, and there are people that aren't pursuing something that they want to pursue, it is easier for them to drag you back down to their level than it is for them to rise to yours. And they want to be on an even playing field. So the only effort that they're going to put in is to bring you down, because that's so much easier than them building back up. So if their opinion matters more than your own, then you're never going to reach success because you're constantly going to allow yourself to be dragged back down. And that's a problem, right? So you have to think, how do you change this? How do you change this circle? So next to it or under it, wherever you have room, draw another circle. And knowing what you know now, I want you to adjust this. And this is your intended self-image, meaning that this is how you're going to start living. This is going to be how you value yourself. It can be including other people. It doesn't have to be me 100%. But friends and family are fine, but they can't be more than half, right? So you alone have to be 50%, or you and God alone, or you and faith alone have to be 51%. Okay? So those things have to make up the majority ownership. Okay? You can keep the same things on there, but adjust your perception. Change the outlook. All right, so as you guys finish that up, let's talk through what it looks like. What's that look like for you?
75 myself, 25 friends and family.
Okay. I thought his sister was in there.
I average because she's.
What position you play?
I'm a pitcher.
You're a pitcher? All right. Okay. How's your confidence on the mound?
I don't know yet.
You don't know yet. I can tell you how it's going to be based on how you responded in putting somebody else's sister. When things are going good, they're going to be really good. When things are going bad, you're not bouncing back because everything's a joke. Okay? And everybody has some type of defense mechanism that we go to when we're uncomfortable. Okay? And we see it in this setting because you don't know me and I'm asking you to do something that you're uncomfortable doing. But that same thing will show up when you get to a game. If you cannot focus your energy in the right places here, that's not going to change when you're on a field. There isn't this magic switch that you can just flip and suddenly be successful. Okay? If you are a successful person, you are successful at pretty much everything that you do because success is a mindset that you're going to be the best at whatever you're putting your mind to. It's not, I'm going to focus in this area. Okay? Good athletes are typically good students. Typically. Right? Because they're going to focus and be the best at whatever it is they're doing. Okay? How many lives do you get? Do you get to respawn? No. You get one of these. One single life. That's it. Okay, so you have a choice to make within that because at some point it's going to end. And whether that's tomorrow, hopefully not, or a long time from now, you determine your success. So if everything is a joke, then everything will continue to be a joke. And you'll be one of those people at the local bar down the street talking about all the things that you could have done and how great life would have been, but you'll never accomplish anything. Okay, it's okay to joke. It's okay to have friends. It's okay to be like that. Okay, but you have to understand time and place. Because when you're in a game, and your shortstop makes an error and you're the pitcher that's on the mound, if you look at him and you're like, man, you suck, well, he's not going to make the next play, right? If you look at him and laugh, point at him and tell him over the next 3 days you can't feel anything, well, I bet you he doesn't play well in the next game, okay? And typically, if there is an outward expression of negativity, what does that mean? Who can tell me? If you are outwardly expressing negativity about others, that means that you are inwardly expressing negativity about yourself. And because of that, that's who you're becoming, right? How you do anything is how you do everything. So how we think is how we live. Okay, so we have to change it. Okay, we have to change the way that we live. There are two different directions that we can live. Okay, direction number one, and this will describe most of you in here, is have, do, be. And what that means is most of us get to a point where we're like, man, I really want to be a professional baseball player, whatever that is. Let's start there. A sectional champion, who cares? Okay, whatever that is for you. But in order to be that, I need to do certain things. In order to do certain things, I need to have certain things, but my circumstance doesn't give me these things. Do you have the nicest facility out there? It's not bad, honestly, but it's not the greatest. You could always have more, right? Do you have the nicest uniforms? No, they're fine. Okay, do you have the nicest equipment? Do you have a brand new A2000, A2K glove? Anybody in here? I do, it's sick. I wish you did. They're sweet. I love gloves. That's like the thing that I buy. I don't spend money other than gloves. Okay, but regardless of what it is, where most people get is they talk about all the things that they want to do, but man, before I do those things, I got to have these things. And because you don't have them, you don't do the things that you want to do, so you can never become the person that you want to be. Okay, but we have to flip that. Okay, your circumstance cannot dictate your action. So we have to, if we want to be successful, live, be, do, have. Meaning, this is the person that I'm going to be. Okay, and I can tell you I quit teaching because the person that I was going to be was somebody who is full-time in athletics, that is doing exactly what I'm doing right now, that's going to schools to speak to athletes, coaching my high school team as well as I can, being the best that I can be at owning a facility, running a program, doing those things, and I knew that teaching was getting in the way of my time to be able to do that. So I quit. Didn't know what that was going to look like, but figured like now is the time, and I need to, like if this is something I want to do, I need to do that, right? So be who you want to be right now. Does not matter the circumstance that you have. You want to be a major league player, then be one right now. Okay, what does that look like? Well, I can tell you that Mike Trout was Mike Trout before he was Mike Trout. That might not make any sense. Here's what I mean. Okay, Mike Trout, before he's the Mike Trout that you see on TV, performing at an extremely high level, other than striking out to his teammate to end the World Baseball Classic. Okay, doesn't make him a bad player. He's obviously one of the greatest. Okay, he had that mentality before he was on the biggest stage. Okay, champions prepare as champions before they're champions. It's the only way to become one. You don't suddenly get into a game and luck into a championship. You prepare as such. You treat yourself as such. You live as such. And because you're doing those things when you're in the moment, it doesn't feel too big because you've prepared for it over and over and over and over again. And that's the only way to do it in every single aspect of your life, right? So we have to be, which gives us the vision, the opportunity to see the ways to do the things that we would do to be that person, which then allows you to have the things that you want. You want a state ring? Great. But you got to be that before you're a state champion. It's the only way. Okay, so when we live that direction, what happens is now we're in the position to manifest. So manifestation, karma, things like that are real. Okay, did you know that in this world there is nothing that is completely stationary? Nothing. These tables, the drink sitting on the tables, the glove, the pencils, everything has a vibration on planet Earth. Okay, you don't see it because it's very small. Okay, but it's like this. If you turn on your radio and you want to listen to what kind of music you listen to? Drake? I was thinking, we're in Monroe, we're like at Monroe Central. I figured you guys would say country. No? No, a little bit of country, a little bit of Drake, you know? We go both sides. All right. Well, whatever it is, if you want to listen to Drake or you want to listen to Morgan Wallen, both of those things are not going to be found on the same radio station most of the time, right? So what do? You click a button, you change the radio station, you change the frequency. Okay, so that frequency is those radio waves that are communicating to your car and telling you what's going to be the output, right? Well, because everything in the world is not stationary and is constantly in motion, you have the ability to think in a certain way, and the frequencies of your thought attract certain things back. Okay, it's why some of you have probably like seen a girl, and before you ever talk to her, you're like, yeah, I vibe with this person. It's also why like you've seen other guys and like before you ever talk to him, you're like, I don't like that dude. I don't know why, but I don't like that dude. Okay, it's all the energy frequencies that you're giving off and that you're willing to take in. Okay, so the term high frequency thoughts is something that's said around my house way more than I can even like tell you. Okay, my 8-year-old will literally tell us high frequency thoughts if she hears something negative leave my mouth or my wife's mouth, because she knows and we know and we've taught her that the way that you speak, the way that you think, you're going to get that in return, which is why karma is real. You do bad things happen in return, because those are low frequency thoughts. Okay, so low frequency thoughts are things like I think and I might, right? Things that don't tell you what the outcome is going to be. It's like I'm going to try really hard, but you're already accepting. If you say I think I can do it, you're accepting that there's a possibility of failure, right? So that's what you're going to get, because that's the frequency that you're on. High frequency thoughts are I can and I will. It's not a question. The only question is when, but the question is not if, right? When we can change our thought process, how we view ourselves to like might, think, to can, will. Now we've said I will be successful, I am successful, but the success that I want might not be here yet, right? We add that yet to it because that's high frequency. That means I'm going to be there, right? So if you start the season 0-10, the beautiful thing about sectionals in Indiana is it doesn't matter. You're going to get a random sectional draw and you still have an opportunity to win it, regardless of if you win a game or not during your entire regular season, right? So you can't allow an individual outcome or result to tank your thought process and then accept that, okay? Because as soon as you accept failure, that's when you failed, okay? So think about it like this. If there's 2 people standing at the start line for a race, gun goes off to start the race, and one of them has already accepted defeat. They don't think they're fast. They're not going to do it. They just stand there. And the other person maybe is struggling, but they're like, let's go for it. And they fall flat on their face on the takeoff. Who's winning? Who's currently winning that race? The guy who fell flat on his face, right? And if he gets back up and he falls flat on his face over and over and over again, eventually he'll be around the track, he'll find success, he'll win. Because the other person hasn't moved. Okay? And where we get in our culture is people stop acting. We stop moving. We stop thinking about that. We stop thinking that we have any ability to be successful, and we start having low frequency thoughts. We think about ourselves in the way of just solely what everybody around us thinks. We're no longer in control of our own self-value, self-worth, so we can't find success. And then we make the excuses. Well, I'm not successful because this happened to me. It's all circumstantial. I'm not good at this because I didn't have this opportunity. No. You're here. You're fed. You have a house to go home to. You have every opportunity that you need to be successful if you take advantage of it. Right? And those are the only things that matter. Like the question then is, what are you going to do with it? Right? So you have to start changing the way that you word things, the way that you say things. If I were to ask you what your goal is for the season, who has an individual goal for the season that you've set? What is it? What? What's that mean? Okay. To win what? The whole season? Every game? So what if you lose? What if you lose a game? Okay. So when we set our goals, how we word them is really important. Okay, so to win isn't a bad goal, but the idea of get back up and try again, think about it. You've already set yourself up for the next failure. Because I'm going to try. No, get back up and win. What happens if you lose? I'm going to win the next one. Right? Really simple thought process, but the way you have to monitor the words that you say, and typically the words you say to others will match the words that you say to yourself. So again, outwardly negative means inwardly negative. So how many of you disappoint yourself on a day-to-day basis? I do. I do at least one thing a day that I'm like, dang, I could have done that better. I wish I was better at that. Okay, how many of you impress yourself on a day-to-day basis? You're like, dang, I crushed that. Yeah, less hands there, right? So think. A negative thought is 7 times more powerful than a positive thought. A spoken thought is 7 times more positive than a thought. So the moment that you have a negative thought and then you say it out loud, man, I just suck at this. You got to do a lot of positives to make up for that, right? You go to school. High school kids are cruel. You guys are really negative. You're mean to each other. Even though you're trying to joke around, like that's the way that we make people laugh, is to make fun of other people. Well, you're probably offending somebody even though they're not going to respond to it. And within a team atmosphere, if you are bringing them down, they're not going to say anything, but you're also not building them up, right? So you, although you're not responsible for what anybody else thinks, does, anything like that, you control yourself and that's it. You have the ability to have life-giving words or life-taking words in what you say and how you say it. Okay, did anybody see that there was a 12U Indiana Nitro kid who committed suicide recently? Okay, did anybody see the reasoning for why he did it? Bullying, right? Now, I'm not saying that you guys have a bullying problem on the team, but what I am saying is a lot of times people who are getting bullied or put down don't say anything because we're supposed to be men, we're supposed to be tough, and our idea of toughness is not saying anything and acting like things don't bother us. Okay, true toughness is telling somebody, like standing up for your teammate. You see somebody putting somebody down, telling them that they suck, why are you going to let that slide? Okay, because in life, there's no such thing as neutral. There's either positive or there's negative. So if you are not fixing a problem that you see happening, then essentially you're part of the problem. You can either be part of the problem or part of the solution, right? So everything that you do, the way that you correct people, the way that you talk to people, it has to be in a way of doing this for a positive intended outcome. If there's no positive intended outcome, then you just need to keep your mouth shut. It's really that simple, right? But the same thing happens in your own mind and your own thoughts and the way that you speak to yourself. Okay, so how many of you, over 50% of the thoughts that you say to yourself in your mind about baseball are negative when you're like out on the field? Now, when you say those things, your next rep, is it normally really good or still not very good? Not very good, right? Okay, so you got to fake it a little bit. Okay, I fully believe with a broken back right now that if we had a fielding competition, I would beat every single one of you. I also believe that if we had a three-point shooting competition, I would beat every single one of you. I also believe that if we had a target practice competition, I would beat every single one of you. I also believe if we had a Monopoly game, I would beat every single one of you. For no other reason than I'm stupid enough to believe that I'm going to win anything that I do. And that's the only way to be successful consistently is to be that positive and that sure. Okay, because indecision shows doubt. Okay, if I were to ask you, what's your favorite fast food restaurant? Indecision, right? Indecision shows doubt, which means you might not know, and that's okay. It doesn't make you a terrible person, but it's an easy question to ask to show you a lot of times indecision is worse than a wrong decision. Think about it on the field. We're calling for a cutoff. We catch it. We don't know where to throw the ball. We pump fake a few times, everybody's safe, right? You throw it to the wrong base, still not great, but maybe you can steal it out, right? So a lot of times in your own life, it's that indecision when you're at the plate, don't strike out, then you take the pitch, umpire calls strike 3, and then whose fault is it? The umpire. But it was outside. No, it's your fault. It's your fault because you didn't step in ready to go. You were indecisive in your actions. Okay, so one term that I want to leave you guys with, I got one more thing for you, is attack and adapt. Really simple. Okay, anything that you go through in your life, including your own mindset, the way that you think, all of those things, you have to attack it head on and you have to adapt. Okay, does anybody love parades in here? I think parades are the worst thing on the planet. I hate parades. I don't know why. Just the idea of sitting at something and watching everything for like 30 seconds just is not appealing. Okay, but the way that I like parades is if the parade's going this way, I want to get in my car, I want to drive the other way. You take a parade and you cut it in that time in half and I can just see everything like briefly, that's great. But the amount of time they take is ridiculous, right? So think about that. When you are attacking something that you dislike, what most of us do is we run away from it, right? So think about like a weather cell. You got a storm coming. Well, if you run away from it, that storm continues to follow you and you're stuck in it longer, right? When you run into the storm, you end up getting out of it quicker because you're moving in opposite direction. So anytime that you're facing some type of adversity, you're on the field, maybe you go out, and I know you said, like, I don't know how I'm going to be yet. I haven't been out there. Yeah, maybe you go out there and you peg the first 3 dudes. You're in the storm. You're going to run away and tell coach to take the ball, or you're going to pound the zone on the next guy and see if you can work out of it. Right? That's all you can do. Okay, you can't control your past. You can't control your future. There's one single moment in time that you can control, and it's the most important moment of your life whenever the question is asked. If somebody ever says, what's the most important moment of your life? It's this one right now, regardless of when it's asked, because it's the only one that you have any control of. You don't know what life's going to look like in 5 minutes. What happened 5 minutes ago is gone. You cannot control that anymore. So the only thing that you should be focused on that's in your control is what you're doing in the present moment. That's it. Okay, so here's where we got to get. This is what I'll leave you with today. Okay, this is the flower theory. All right, anybody love flowers? My wife does. I don't get them enough. I got to be better at that. All right, but when we talk about flowers, so you love flowers. So let's see how much you know flowers. You ready? Okay, if you see a flower on the ground and you pluck just the flower, like just the actual flower portion of it, what's going to happen to that plant over time? You're terrible with flowers. It's not going to die. Anybody know? Anybody like in a class where you talk about flowers? It's going to grow back if you just pluck the flower thing, right? What about if you just grab the stem? You just break the stem off. What's going to happen to that plant over time? It's going to grow back. Okay, so what's the only way to actually take out a flower, so it doesn't come back? Pull the root. Okay, so think about it like this. When you think about your self-talk, you think about your self-image, you think about making some of these changes. Where most people fail is they pluck the flower. Think about like New Year's resolution. Someone's like, I'm overweight. I need to go to the gym. So their sole purpose in going to the gym, they're like, boom, flower. I'm going to go to the gym. Well, in 2 weeks, that's not as appealing anymore because it's a lot of work. That habit grows back. Okay, so flowers are essentially the habits of our thought process. The flower itself, that's the action. The stem is our words. The root is our thoughts. So if you are trying to change your swing, trying to change the way you talk to yourself, anything like that, and all you do is like, I'm going to change this pattern of behavior. Over time, you're going to fall right back into the same pattern. If you start to tell yourself, no, I got to be more positive. Okay, it's going to last a little bit longer, but over time, it's going to get back. You got to get to the root of it. So like, why do you want to speak to yourself in more positives? Why do you want to speak to each other in more positives? What's the root reason that we want to change our habits? It's going to be different for every single person, right? But I can tell you if you don't know your why, the reason that you do what you do, the reason that you play baseball, whatever that is, and it's easy to lose your why. So you got to fall back to it. Okay? Sometimes it starts because you love the game and it's like the greatest thing on the planet and you continue to play because mom and dad tell you that you're really good and you need to. We've lost your why. You're playing for other people, right? There needs to be something about yourself that you're playing for. Okay? But if you can change the root of it, you can change your thoughts about why it is that you're doing what you're doing. You want to fall in love with the grind? What's your reason? What is it? Why do you love the grind? What?
Hard question.
Is it? It shouldn't be if you're in love with it. What do you think?
I think it's the chance to be better.
Yeah. Right? Falling in love with the grind is the greatest thing that you can do because it's falling in love with the idea that you're going to do something tomorrow that you couldn't do today. The idea of being the best in the world at getting better. The idea of being so obsessed with something that regardless of the level that you reach, you know that there's a new goal, a new level that you're going to try to climb to. That's the grind. That's what you fall in love with, right? That's the root. That's the thought that you got to be able to get to right away and say it with more confidence than just being kind of quiet and like, I think it's this. No, don't think it's that. It's low frequency. And if you said, I'm in love with the grind because whatever reason, and I said that's stupid and you're wrong, that shouldn't bother you one bit. You can just smile at me and say, okay. Doesn't have to change the way you think. I can disagree with you all I want. Like I say, you can stand here and say, or sit there and say, like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and you're not going to hurt my feelings. Right? And that's where you guys got to get, is understanding your own thought process is the root of all things that follow it. Your thoughts become your words become your actions, just like the root becomes the stem becomes the flower. And then when you have a flower that's in a garden, what's your garden look like? Right? Think about that. What's the garden of your thoughts look like? Is it a whole bunch of weeds that you need to start pulling and rerouting your thoughts? Or are you building an incredible garden of quality thoughts, quality words, quality actions for yourself and for others that span not only baseball, but every aspect of your life? That's where you got to get, right? So if you want to change your season, the goal can't just be winning. Why do you want to win, right? Get to what you're saying about winning. Why does winning matter? And then, once you know those words of why winning matters, get to the root of that. Like, what's the real reason that you want to win? Is it to show yourself that you're successful? It's fine if it is, but a scoreboard shouldn't be able to tell you that, right? So the idea of success, John Wooden, one of the greatest coaches of all time, this is his definition of success. Success is the self-satisfaction in knowing that you did your best to become the best that you're capable of becoming. That has nothing to do with how many games he won, nothing to do with his 10 national championships. Okay, if you have a team that is capable of that, then yeah, that's success. If you have a team that maybe the ceiling is a little bit lower than that, then whatever that is, reach it. Reach it and build off of that. Okay, so that's the overall goal, is that you guys figure out my self-image is solely based on my thoughts, because my thoughts will become my words would become my actions. The self-value of the team has nothing to do with what the school says, nothing to do with what the county says, nothing to do with what the reporters say, has everything to do with what you guys believe. Keeping the outside noise out, right? A boat never sank because of water that was outside of the ship. Okay, don't let that stuff in. Don't go home to dinner and allow your parents to tell you why the kid playing in front of you is terrible and should be on the bench and the coach stinks and you should be starting. All that's going to do is affect the way that you approach your teammates. Right? Don't go to practice rooting for other people to fail. Don't go to practice hoping that somebody doesn't show up so maybe you'll have a better opportunity. Fall in love with the freaking grind. Work for it. Right? Do more than what other people are doing. Set yourself apart in whatever that is. Okay? You hear the term 1% better all the time, right? What does that mean? What does that actually look like on a day-to-day basis? Anybody know? How much is 1%? 1% is 14 minutes and 24 seconds of your day. Okay, so my challenge to you is really, really simple. Find 14 minutes and 24 seconds of your day, start the stopwatch, whatever that might be, that you are going to focus on doing something that is going to better you individually. Maybe that's visualization. Maybe that's journaling. Maybe that's taking a cold shower in the morning and power posing. Power posing is crazy. It's literally standing in a powerful pose and just staring at yourself in the mirror for like 2 minutes. Okay? It's weird. You're going to feel really awkward. My Butler player did it, and then he went off. Why? Because you start to feel confident. You start to see your body language and know what you look like. Right? Find 14 minutes and 24 seconds. That's not too much to ask. You guys spend at least that amount of time on social media every day, guaranteed. Right? So 14 minutes, 24 seconds. You want to be in love with the grind? Give yourself that 1% better every single day. You do that, you're doing more than what other people are doing. You will progress at a faster rate than what other people are, and who knows where you find yourself at the end of the season.